Suffering sucks. Nobody likes to suffer, but there can be some benefits to it. Of course, we don't want to get addicted to suffering and become identified with it as who we are or where we will always be. But I think there's some advantages to surrendering to it as well and learning from it, as opposed to just numbing ourselves. There are many ways that we numb ourselves. Some are obvious and some are not so obvious. Like you can drink hard liquor until you're blacked out drunk, or you can enjoy a couple glasses of wine at a fine restaurant, and one will be overtly numbing and one will be covertly numbing. One is obvious, one's not so obvious. And you know, if you are feeling resistance to doing anything in life, like getting out of bed or going somewhere, then you can drink a lot of coffee, and hardly anybody will say that you might have an addiction, or if they do, they'll joke about it and say it's funny. But if you let go of all these various numbing devices, like psychiatric medication is necessary for some people who can simply not function, or really gotten to the point in suffering where they're having major delusions and so forth. But if we're feeling some anxiety, like I knew somebody who her husband wanted to divorce her immediately, she went and got 3 different prescription medications. And, of course she had her roles to perform, but some things are more important than our roles. And that's the problem. So many people are identified with their roles that they're basically going through life as robots, just performing their roles and not letting things completely disintegrate, even when that's what is happening, medicating themselves through the suffering instead of just feeling it fully, because our ego says we can't handle the suffering, and so therefore we must do anything we can to escape it. But in reality, suffering, feeling pain, does not kill us. What kills us is living an inauthentic life, and we may die slowly from inauthenticity or the numbing devices that we use, but it is more deadening to avoid pain than to feel it. So if we just sit there with it or lay there with it and allow ourselves to feel it, it teaches us, and we transcend it, and we can change it into greater awareness of who we are and what we're doing. One of the benefits of suffering is that if we didn't run into roadblocks, we would continue on the same path. And sometimes that's not where we're truly headed. It's very unlikely that what worked for you a year ago or 5 years ago is going to work exactly the same way unless you've transcended your ego. So there's going to be need for adaptation and change and making alterations to your life that normally people will not make until the suffering pushes them into it. So one of the benefits is allowing ourselves to get off our current path and to question things and to do things differently. Another benefit of suffering is that you can develop more empathy for others in the world who are suffering instead of just ignoring that part of life. Again, you don't want to over-identify with it or depress yourself to the point where you're not functional because you're thinking all the time of suffering and feeling it, all the suffering in the world, or telling yourself you won't be happy until the world's utopia. But there can be a softening that comes from suffering that allows you to see your interconnectedness with others and break through the role-playing and performance that dominates so many people's existence, and see what is going on a deeper level, not only in yourself, but be able to perceive it more clearly in others as well. Another benefit of suffering is that I think we become more intuitive if we allow ourselves to go deeply into our pain. A benefit of being intuitive is that you can make more highly refined choices in life if you're able to tune into your intuition accurately. And it is outside of the mind in a sense. It's a full bodily kind of experience to have a strong intuitive ability. And if you are just imprisoned in your own mind, which is the place of most suffering, then you won't be able to get out of it or make conscious choices fully. But if you allow yourself to feel through whatever pain is coming up, whatever challenges you're feeling in life, then I think you'll become more refined and be able to make more effective choices and avoid anything that got you into the situation that you're in now in the future, and do things differently and do things more consciously as you become more aware. So those are some of the thoughts I have on suffering and how we can use it to our advantage. Again, we don't want to over-identify with it, become stuck in our identification with constant sadness and pain, but utilizing it instead of just running from it, I think can really bring some benefits and help us live a more conscious and authentic existence.